Bao nhiêu năm rồi còn mãi ra đi. Bao nhiêu năm rồi còn mãi ra đi, đi đâu lên khoan cho đôi môi mẹ. Bao nhiêu năm rồi còn mãi ra đi, đi đâu lên khoan cho đôi môi mẹ. Cho nó ba tha đôi vang nhà khuya, con mãi trường đà mà có đi về. Yeah. Shake the snake on the flute today, come on brother. I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees. I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees, yeah. Ask the Lord above mercy, take me here if you please, yeah. Got the blues, come on. Oh, yeah, we got the blues, Jake. Come on, brother. Oh. Bao nhiêu năm rồi con ma ra đi, đi đâu lên khoan cho đôi môi mẹ. Bao nhiêu năm rồi con ma ra đi, đi đâu lên khoan cho đôi môi mẹ. Cho nó ba tha đôi bang nhà quê, con ma trường đà mà cô đi về. Come on, Zig. Hey.
That Vietnamese is pretty good.
Thank you, dear.
Well, now that is a Chinh Cầm Sơn rendition, and I must say it's a one of a kind. I haven't heard anything like that before. Well, on this Talk Vietnam, he is our guest. Curtis King has been living in Ho Chi Minh City for the past 5 years now and has started his own band, known in Vietnam as Lê Văn Tèo, which is a very common name, I guess. Well, we're going to talk to him today about his life here in Ho Chi Minh City as well as the Curtis King Band. But before we get into it, let's take a little jump back in history and find out about Curtis King back then.
Playing the guitar since the age of 4, Curtis King from Ohio State of the United States now has his own band. It's probably one of the most well-traveled in Asia, as they performed and toured in about 20 countries. In Vietnam, fans know them as the Lê Văn Tèo Band. Curtis and his cast of world-class musicians and entertainers have been featured on MTV, BBC, China Central Television, and Zone FM radio in Vietnam. The band has played with international greats Deep Purple, local Vietnamese talents Trần Mạnh Tuấn, Siêu Black, Hồng Nhung, Singapore's guitarist extraordinaire John Chi at the legendary rock and roll bar Crazy Elephant, and many other top performers from around the world. The band has recently experimented with an East meets West blues style using traditional Asian instruments. They are also involved in supporting the Vietnam Red Cross on issues involving Agent Orange.
Okay, Curtis, thank you for joining us on the program today. So we mentioned that you've been in Ho Chi Minh City for about 5 years now, but when did, tell us your story about how you came to Vietnam.
I first came here in about 1997 at the invitation of the lady that I work for now at Galaxy. I went to Hanoi at that time and then took a little side trip on the steam trains at that time. They still had steam trains down to Hue, only for about 5 days. But it left a big impression that Vietnam's a beautiful country.
Sure.
I was living in China at the time. And then I came again in about 2001 to play some music. A friend of ours was living here, came to Ho Chi Minh, played some music and said, wow, this is an amazing place. And then slowly started moving my guitars and things from Singapore, and in about 2003 started living here.
Here for good.
Yeah.
You've been touring with the band now. It's about 20 different countries, is that right?
We've played everywhere. Yeah,
a lot
about 20 different
places.
countries. Mostly in Asia.
Right.
Singapore, China.
Right.
Thailand. But we've played almost everywhere in Vietnam.
Almost everywhere.
Almost everywhere, except for Sapa. I think that's the only place.
It's kind of hard to get your guitars
It's hard
up
to
there.
get.
That's why. But you know, out of all the traveling that you've done, and you yourself have lived in so many different countries, what was it about Vietnam that made you say, "Hey, I want to stay here"?
Well, the ladies are pretty beautiful here, I must admit. But
Can I ask, do you have a girlfriend?
Well, I can't say. Yeah, it's a lot woman, maybe. It's a beautiful country. We've been lucky to travel all over the country, from north to south. And I think it's one of the most beautiful countries that I've ever traveled to. And there's still a lot more that we haven't seen. I haven't been to Con Dao, Phu Quoc. There are parts of the north that we haven't seen. So there's a lot to see here. And
a lot to see.
I think we should be here for a couple more years.
A few more years. Yeah. Well, I'm sure your fans will look forward to that. Well, let's talk about your road to music, how you got into the music business in the first place. When did you start playing?
I just found, my mother sent me a photograph when I was about 2 years old.
What?
With a guitar.
I don't think I was. One? A plastic one?
I don't think I was playing then, but I started taking lessons when I was about 4.
About 4.
Took lessons for about 5 years, and then played the trumpet for a few years, and then quit for a couple years, and then got into the harmonica again, back into the trumpet, and then we've been playing with we started as an amateur band, and now we sort of call ourselves a professional band. In China in about 1995, we put together our first full electric band.
Wow.
And it's gone much better than any of us expected.
That's good.
We've played in many countries. We had a #1 selling CD in Indonesia, which was a big surprise. And
huge fan base in Indonesia too, then.
Better than we expected.
That's great.
Commercially here in Vietnam, we have not yet launched our first official CD, but that's something that we're looking at doing. We've been on the radio here. We've been on TV here.
Did you come from a family of musicians? I mean, was it a
Not
family
really,
thing?
no. My father was half deaf, and the only thing in the family, my brother was very much into the whole rock and roll thing. Being from Cleveland, Ohio, they've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there. Music was always in the neighborhood.
Okay.
My brother, friends, always playing the newest rock and roll CDs. So that sort of stuff.
A lot of influence from that. Okay, now going back to the name Levanteo. Okay, anyway. Anyway, so the name, you know, it's kind of a familiar name as like a, to me anyway, it's kind of a comedic thing. So where did the name come from, actually?
Living in China for about 10 years, my family name was Li. Right?
Li, okay.
So the Lei comes from Li, and then my Vietnamese teacher gave me the name. I wanted something like Le Van, and I couldn't think for many weeks, and she's like, Teo, farmer, okay. So that's where it came from, Le Van Teo.
Le Vanteo. So you have, it's like a fusion of, saw the performance before, it's kind of bluesy, a little bit of traditional music. You had Chi Minh City, who's a famous songwriter here in Vietnam. And also you include Vietnamese instruments. Right. So what kind of music would you say you guys record?
We've been recording a lot of this fusion music recently. We had a girl from China who was playing the Chinese version of the danchang with 21 strings.
Wow.
We recorded about 4 songs with her. Some of those songs got on the Indonesia CD, but she's very far away, so we needed to find some local Vietnamese talent.
Sure.
And the next step is definitely to record some dan bao, which is a very Vietnamese sound. And also here in Vietnam, you have wonderful percussionists in the highlands, and you have the gong.
Sure.
So we're looking at recording some new things. We got a little bit bored recording just regular blues.
Right.
It's been done jazz, it's been done rock, it's been done. We have some wonderful musicians here in Vietnam, so why not bring them in?
Sure. Well.